Good evening and welcome to another episode of Tales of a City. Recently I had the chance to sit down with a true Australian music industry legend, Doug Ashdown. Now Doug was the composer and performer of one of Australia's most iconic songs, Winter in America.
The harbor's misty in the morning, love. Oh, how I miss December. The frangipani opens up to kiss the salty air. I know you're getting ready for the office. I suppose he's still there with you, sharing our morning sun. Winter in America is cold, and I just keep growing older. I wish I could have known enough of love to leave love enough alone. I've learned something of love I wish I'd known before you left me. But it's funny how you don't know what you've got until it's gone. And I hope you're getting all the love you've ever wanted. But I wish I was there with you, sharing our morning sun. I waken to the sadness of the rain and making love to strangers and wishing I had known enough of love to leave love enough alone. Winter in America is cold, and I just keep growing older. I wish I could have known enough of love to leave love enough alone. Winter in America is cold, and I just keep growing older. I wish I could have known enough of love to leave love enough alone.
Doug, thank you so much for spending time with me today. You've had a very long and varied career, but I must tell you how you actually touched my life.
Yeah.
In 1977, I bought a Polystar Australian music compilation record called Scorcher, and on there was Winter in America, your song.
The top 20 hit kind of thing. Yeah.
Indeed,
Yeah.
it was a fabulous song and deeply touched me. It was the year that I was starting to become aware of music and what it meant and how it could affect you. And that song actually was very meaningful to me. It touched me. I don't know why. I was quite young. And it seems that it was a song about loss. Would that be right?
Yeah, I guess it would be, because I could tell you the story of Winter in America. We, Jimmy Stewart, myself and Carol, we were living in Nashville. We had a publishing contract in Nashville in 1971 to 73. And I think it would be probably early 72. It was, they actually got snow in Nashville, which was just unbelievable. Not very often do you get snow in Nashville. And we were writing quite a few songs for Tree Publishing, which we'd got a contract with. And Jimmy had this idea for Leave Love Enough Alone. He sort of thought it was a play on words, you know. And I had Winter in America is Cold, and I just kept growing older. I had that sort of idea going. And we were going to write 2 songs with those titles. And we ended up deciding to write the one song, and they melded, together, the chorus and the Leave Love Enough Alone.
Would that be why I noticed that on some of the record releases, it was titled Winter in America, and in brackets, Leave Love Enough Alone?
I'll give you the story of that in a minute. Some friends of ours had asked to see some brochures of Australia.
Oh, right. And
we'd already been there for over a year, And of course, communications were not like they are now with internet and Facebook
instant
and all
communication.
You'd have to write a letter and all that. So you kind of got homesick, and people wanted to see these brochures, and we got them, and there was photos of Sydney Harbour and koalas and all that stuff, and it made us homesick. So we started to write, Frangipani opens up and all that. It was about Sydney and missing Sydney, and because we lived in Sydney at the time before we left for America. And so that's really how it came about, the song. And it sort of stayed there really till we got back to Australia, and I recorded it. So
it was very orchestral.
Well, I wrote that little thing at the start on guitar, and when we had the record done, I asked my arranger of the song, Wayne Finlay, to write like a Mahler-esque symphonic kind of thing, introduction. But when they released the single in Australia, they left that off.
Yes, I noticed.
And it didn't do anything. Leave Love Enough Alone, no, it didn't do anything. Now, there was a DJ in Sydney called Bob Rogers, and he suggested that we change the title and get them to re-release it as Winter in America, because people would not understand. They'd be going in the shop, you got that Winter in America song. So that's what they did. They put it out again as a single and an album, called it Winter in America, and it took off. And it wasn't a really huge hit,
but it has become a perennial
It's become
classic.
a kind of a classic song now. And I've written dozens and dozens of songs, and that one is sort of, the song. It's what I'm known for. And luckily, later on, it was recorded by a Dutch singer called René Froger. And René Froger took it to the top of the charts in Holland, and it became his signature tune. So it's done really well over 50 or 45 years,
I'm surprised that at the time when you wrote it, so it was around 73 or so.
72, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It was, we're talking the disco era and a landscape of rock.
Yeah, true.
Mind you, he had just come out of the 60s, so there still would have been that
and we were in Nashville, of course, so that was a country music city, and although we weren't really writing country music, we wrote a few. Well, there was one actually that was a hit for us there called Just Thank Me, which was a country song we wrote for David Rogers, and it was basically the only hit he had, and that really did well. And we wrote a lot of other songs, but that one song, we never knew at the time that it would be, what it is now, because it was just another song. And it's amazing how it's become that ingrained, you know.
It certainly is. It's
Yeah.
part of Australia's culture now.
I know.
It's wonderful.
It's great.
Thing. Yeah, isn't it? Now, speaking of the 70s, you had quite a look going on back then. I managed to find some photographs. They were. It was quite a look. You were a symphony in brown.
Oh my God.
But I think everybody in the 70s then were. I mean,
There's probably the album Empty Without You's got that yes,
a
that's
very
the one.
good example. Yes,
That's the Empty Without You cover.
indeed. Yeah,
Yeah, I know that was taken at the Sydney Opera House actually.
indeed. The film clip. That's actually from the film clip for Winter in America.
What happened when they released my version of it in Holland in 1978, and I got this phone call and said, "We want you to come to Holland to do the Top of the Pops."
Yes.
And I thought, well, we'll just send them a film clip, you know, that's what you normally do, just send them the video, you know. But they said, no, there's 2 tickets waiting for you at KLM, you know. And I said, oh, someone's having a lend of me here. But I rang up KLM and there was 2 tickets to Amsterdam for Jimmy Stewart and myself. So we hopped on the plane and we lobbed in Amsterdam. We got met by a guy at Mercedes-Benz, driven to a great hotel. I did a TV show and a couple of little interviews and a small concert. And it was about a day and a half, and I got back on the plane and came back to Australia. And I spent like a day and a half, 2 days in Amsterdam. And they wouldn't take a film clip, they flew us over there for free.
You also have another connection to my life, bizarrely. You wrote 4 songs for the movie soundtrack of Billy's Holiday.
That's right. Or co-wrote, yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
A very good friend of mine was in that, worked on that film, Ronnie Arnold, who's the choreographer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Black American gay man.
Yeah.
Lovely, fabulous guy.
I didn't have much to do with the film itself.
Yeah.
You know, like Jimmy and I and a couple of other people wrote a few songs for it.
I believe it won some awards for
It
its
won, I think
soundtrack.
it might have been the choreography or something.
No, I think it did get a dong for the soundtrack.
Well, that's good.
Indeed. It was a hell of a film.
I liked it. I don't think it got the treatment it should have got.
I agree. Max
Australia.
Cullen gave a fantastic performance.
Yeah, I thought it was a good movie. It seemed to have, you know, they threw it into the theatres and didn't leave it there long enough. It was there for a week or something, you know, and then they took it out, you know. It was not given the chance to take off. And of course, we were hoping it was going to be like a Muriel's Wedding or something, you know,
Yes.
up there and money as
It
well.
had every potential. It was a lovely story. It was well
Yeah, it was. I
performed.
thought it was a good idea. It was written by Dennis Whitburn, who's a good friend of mine, and really good script writer and everything. And it should have done better. And it actually is on cable in the USA and places like that, and it's still being shown. So
it's easily readily available online, so I do recommend, if you can track it down, Billy's Holiday. Great film, you'll like it. Now, Doug, throughout your career, now especially in the 70s, you've dealt with quite a few record labels, and that was the day where the record labels wielded a lot of power. What was it like dealing with them?
well, yeah, you're right. It's a whole different ballgame to now. It was okay. Production-wise, we were pretty well in control of what we did. But I, especially with publishing, it was more of a problem. Because when we were in America, we were kind of desperate to get a publishing contract because we were sort of, we were staying in a hotel and we were worried about, in Nashville, how to kind of pay the bills.
Yeah.
So we managed to get a publishing contract, but of course they throw it in front of you and it's a life of copyright kind of thing. I kind of locked Winter in America away for like 70 years or something.
Wow.
And the percentages weren't as good as they could be. So, that's what happens. But now, of course, it's a whole different, the music business is just...
Artists are a lot more protected these days.
Well, it's just different. I mean, most of the young artists now, a lot of them aren't signed to any label.
Yes, they're self-releasing.
They're self-releasing. They don't need to worry about publishing companies and they don't need to worry about record companies. They just self-release and
set up a YouTube channel,
yeah,
and away they
good
go.
luck. And, you know, it's inconceivable from our time to envisage getting 200 million people, you know, watching like a Justin Bieber clip or something, you know.
Yeah.
That would be indescribable back then. You know,
Yeah, not even Elvis was getting that done.
No, because when I recorded, you had no choice. You had to record in a studio because you couldn't record at home with, you know, Pro Tools and all that stuff like you can now. You can buy that and in your bedroom you can make a record. But
you can produce pretty much anything at home, even a television show.
Yeah, you can't, you couldn't do that then, of course. You had to go into a recording studio, and I think what it did do though was you had to be good enough to do that in a way.
Well, this raises a point actually. I've quite often been of the opinion that some of the musicians these days, what they're robbed of is the opportunity to pay their dues. That's
true. And more so because of probably those talent shows on TV. The kind of feel is that you don't work your way up, you know, through the pubs anymore.
Well, that's right. They're not treading the boards.
Yeah,
doing
it's like
gigs that
you know, that's all changed. But look, I'm too long in the tooth to criticise the way the music business is now.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when I was starting off, I liked Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis Presley, and my mother and father hated that, you know, because it was the devil's music. And I suppose generation changes, you know, and now I hate hip hop and I can't stand it and the doof, you know. But it's because I'm a different generation to the people who are listening to it. Yeah.
I even find that myself. I mean, I'm younger than yourself, but I still find myself longing for how things were when I grew up. And missing.
Well, I think a lot of melody's gone out of.
I agree.
Gone out of music, and a lot of you've got auto-tune now, where voices can be fixed up, and anybody who wants to make a record can, even if they can't sing. You know, it's just amazing. And I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but in the old days, if you know, you had to do it straight to tape. You know, it was like there was no auto-tune or Pro Tools and easy editing. I mean, a lot of times you'd be splicing tape, you know, cutting tape into pieces and stuff. And a whole different ballgame.
You were once quoted as saying that you had eaten and drank a lot of American breakfasts.
Oh yeah, well that's true in Nashville. I still love the breakfasts in Nashville because they had really good hickory smoked bacon and eggs, and I even had grits. I couldn't handle grits. I wasn't into grits.
Americans do breakfast very well.
Oh, it was great. And hamburgers.
Yes.
Yeah. And I miss Arby's beef burgers. I used to love that. Arby's, they're sort of like little thin pieces of beef. But Arby's, it's the whole chain. It's like McDonald's. But they don't have it in Australia, unfortunately.
Any regrets?
What, over the years? Oh, God, yes. Well, I guess maybe, but I look at myself now and I think how lucky I am to have got a back catalogue which is respected and a career that's been respected, and I have never intentionally hurt anybody in the business. Therefore, I think I've gained that respect of people. I can look back on a career and I don't really have any regrets about it. I mean, maybe signing a couple of contracts. You know, that weren't really trying to rip me off. It was just the way they were done, you know. I'd like to have that back again and look at them and go, oh, wow, no thanks, you know. But overall, I've been very lucky. I've met some great musicians, played with some great musicians. I've done supports for people,
some of the biggest names in the business,
like Joni Mitchell, and you know, I'm mates with a lot of good people, you know, and it's been a great life.
they freed the noise, there were scarlet-coated boys marching down the village thoroughfare. We were there, weren't we, brother? We were there. We were there, weren't we, brother? We were there. We were there, weren't we, brother? We were there.
And I've written some really good songs with other people.
Well, but case in point, and the band played Waltzing Matilda.
Yeah, I sang Eric's song.
What a great song. Now that is
I know. Well, that's
such an iconic Australian song.
Brilliant song.
Brings a tear to the eye every time.
I know, and that was a weird reason I recorded that was Michael Parkinson. Is it Michael Parkinson?
Yes.
Yeah, got the name right. He was doing his show in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And, excuse me, they asked me to do the band play Waltzing Matilda on the show. And I sang it, and I looked at an idiot sheet because the lyrics are just so, there's no repetition at all, yeah. And I kind of sang it with the band and everything, and it sounded great. And they had this wonderful film clips behind me of all people marching, and it was so good. We approached CBS Records and said, look, why can't we put this out as a single? So they bought the rights from Channel 10 of the actual performance, and that's what we put out.
Right.
And it got to the top of the charts in Queensland, I think, in a couple of places.
And it's still beloved today.
Yeah, the actual version I did is kind of Eric. I think Eric actually likes it himself. He comments on the fact that it's great.
Indeed.
When I was a young man, I carried a pen, lived the free life of a rover. Murray's green basin to the dusty outback, I waltzed my Matilda all over. Then in 1915, the country said, son, it's time to stop roving, there's work to be done. So they gave me a tin hat and they gave me a gun. And they sent me away to the war. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as a ship pulled away from the quay. And I missed all the cheers, the flag waving and tears. We set off for Gallipoli. How well I remember that terrible day, how our blood stained the sand and the water, and how in that hell that they called Silver Bay, we were butchered like lambs at the slaughter. Johnny Turkey was waiting, he primed himself well, shot us with bullets and rained us with shell, and in 5 minutes flat, well, he'd blown us to hell. He nearly blew us right back to Australia, and the band played Waltzing Matilda as we stopped to bury our slain. We buried out the Turks buried dead, and we started all over again. So those who were left just tried to survive in a mad world of blood, death and fire. And for 10 weary weeks I kept myself alive as around me the corpses piled higher. Then a big Turkish shell knocked me ass over in. When I woke up in me hospital bed, I saw what it had done and I wished I was dead. And I knew there were worse things than dying, where I'll go no more waltzing Matilda, all around the green bush far and free. Mr. Hunt and tent peg, a man needs both legs, no more waltzing Matilda for me. They collected the crippled, the wounded, the maimed, shipped us all back to Australia. Legless, the armless, the blind and insane, the brave wounded heroes of silver. And as our ship pulled in at Circular Quay, I looked at the place where me legs used to be. I thank Christ there was nobody waiting for me to mourn and to grieve and to pity. Matilda as they carried us down the gangway. Nobody cheered, they just stood there instead, turned all their faces away. So now, every April I sit on me porch, watch the parade pass before me, see my old comrades how proudly they march, reviving old dreams and past glory. But the old men march slowly, old bones stiff and sore, the tired old men from a tired old war. And the young people ask, what are they marching for? And I ask myself the same question when the band plays Waltzing Matilda. The old men answer the call. Year after year, more old men disappear. Soon no one will march there at all.
Well, just lastly, for those coming along now, would you have any advice for them?
I would say not really, because it's a whole different world.
Everyone has to take their own journey.
Yeah, it's a different world. I know I'm friends with some younger artists, really great artists from Adelaide, like, just mention two, the Yearlings.
Yes.
Kelly Menhennet,
Yeah.
Who's absolutely brilliant voice, and love them, But I don't know what advice I could give them. I mean, they're doing the right thing. They're doing what they want to do, and.
Well, that's the advice we were given in the 60s. Do what you want to do,
yeah.
Be what you want to be.
Yes. And, I think, it's up to them what they do. I'd be just wary of signing anything, not that they're probably ever going to have to now.
You can take to heart that the one good thing about the internet, digital technology, is that your legacy will be preserved forever and continue to influence and touch people.
Thank you for that. I see that is the way it's going to be, because you can get anything now on YouTube and stuff. And my stuff's on YouTube at all. It's all there, and I haven't had the 5 million views of Winter in America, but I think I've had about 137,000, so
that's certainly respectable.
Right. It's not bad. Yeah,
well, thanks very much for talking with us today, Doug.
Pleasure, Jeff.
Indeed.